1997, a game was released of epic proportions, and that game is GoldenEye 007 for the one and only Nintendo 64. And by the way, if you'd like to purchase one of those Nintendo 64s in their original boxes, there is a sale going on all week that ends tomorrow, Monday, the 29th of March. So be sure to pick it up from the store before then. But for now, let's move on to GoldenEye for the Nintendo 64. Now, GoldenEye is one of those games that it's a must-have for the Nintendo 64 system. And I say that because, well, A, you can only really play it legally on the Nintendo 64 system. It's not available on the Wii Virtual Console. It's not available on Xbox Live Arcade or the PlayStation Network. And that's because of legal wranglings between Nintendo and Microsoft and a few other parties. Now, this game was slated to be released on the Xbox Live Arcade some time ago, and it was actually built. There was a port of it built for the Xbox Live Arcade, but Nintendo and Xbox and, or I should say Microsoft, and a few other parties like Rare, and maybe one or two other parties actually, could not come to an agreement on how to pay for the rights to it. So the project died a slow, painful death. And now the only way you can play GoldenEye, at least without, you know, the use of an emulator and a ROM file, which is, you know, not exactly legal unless you burn the ROM file yourself from a game cartridge, is to play it on the Nintendo 64. So here it is, GoldenEye. This game is, without a doubt, one of the better games for the Nintendo 64. It's in high demand even today, and still actually commands a decent price. And not because it's rare, it was one of the most popular selling games, it's just because the game is in that much demand. If you have a Nintendo 64, you're going to want this game for it. And that quickly becomes evident when you begin playing the game. Not only is the story very rich in detail, the gameplay itself is also rich in detail, although fans of modern first-person shooters may have a difficult time adjusting to the dynamics and the actual game controls from an earlier first-person shooter like this, because it totally plays different than a modern first-person shooter. The best way to describe the difference is that you shouldn't worry at all about using your sights. You should just assume that, like, if you're pointing in the general direction, pretty darn close to your enemy, no matter the distance, you're basically going to hit them. And that's the first hurdle to get over when you are making the adjustment to an old-school first-person shooter like this. Now, aside from that, you have to get over the fact that there's no jump button, and also that there's no second thumbstick. The Nintendo 64 controller makes strafing not that difficult, because you can use the 4-directional C buttons to take care of that, while you use the thumbstick for your main player control. But it can still get a little confusing at times. Now you see that this is one of the first games to utilize a sniper zoom-in mode and extra hit detection for areas of the body on your enemies, like the head. So a shot to the head would kill an enemy, whereas, like, if you hit them in the foot, it might take 2 shots to kill them, or 3, depending on what type of gun you're using. So this basically almost invented the concept of the headshot. Now, I'm sure it wasn't the first game to feature something like that, but it is the first game of note that I can recall that really made good use of it. Now, above and beyond the basic gameplay premise and, you know, game concept of GoldenEye, being a first-person shooter, it incorporated something that was relatively new to the field and the genre, and that is the multiplayer mode. Now, the multiplayer mode, you can play a number of different scenarios, maps, and all kinds of goodies with up to 4 players, and it was really a good time. The only downside I remember about the multiplayer mode was the fact that it was split screen, and you can kind of cheat a little bit when playing with a bunch of friends by peeking over at their area of the screen to see where they were hiding. And that's my only real complaint. Other than that, it was like one of the most fun concepts that I can remember at the time for video games. I used to play the multiplayer mode with my roommates all the time, and we had a blast. We used all different kinds of rules in the game itself, plus our own rules that we applied while we were playing. And it was just really a blast. Right here you can see what it looks like in the split-screen multiplayer mode for 2 players. And it's, you know, very rudimentary compared to today's vastly modernized, online-capable multiplayer first-person shooters. But this game was something else when we were playing it back in '97. Well, enough about the multiplayer game mode. Even though it's a key part of the GoldenEye game, it is not the only sole aspect to focus on. Let's get back to the regular gameplay. Now, like I was saying earlier, GoldenEye, although an awesome, unbelievable game and a must-have for the Nintendo 64, is not without its flaws. And most of those flaws come into the basic player controls. They're a little quirky and take a lot of getting used to. I found myself constantly fumbling around trying to get up ladders and steps, as you see right here. It's just a little awkward. But once you get used to it, it actually improves quite a bit. And the other major complaint I have with GoldenEye is there's no maps. You don't hit the start button to pull up a map or anything like that. You have to rely solely on your memory for where you're moving about on the level. And that is a challenge in and of itself. The fact that there's no heads-up display map or any kind of map at all, while it helps you get more immersed in the game and the actual gameplay, it can get confusing because some of the areas, frankly, are designed to confuse you and look like other areas. So I definitely think this game would have benefited from some type of in-game map to help you navigate your way around the various levels of GoldenEye. When I first played this game back in '97, you don't know how long it took me to figure that out, because it was simply unheard of to have destructible environment features like that. Like you have to actually shoot the lock to destroy it to be able to open the gate. That was unheard of. I spent like an hour looking for a key of some sort to unlock the gate, and out of frustration I just shot it, and it broke open. And I was like, oh my god, this game is the best game in the world. And there you have it, GoldenEye for the Nintendo 64. An absolute must-have if you have the system or if you're a fan of first-person shooters, because this game really set the bar high for future first-person shooters and incorporated a lot of things for the first time in one package. If you'd like to pick up GoldenEye for the Nintendo 64, I'll leave a link in the description to the Classic Games Revisited store. We have it in stock. And also, don't forget, the Classic Games Revisited week-long sale on Nintendo 64 consoles, complete in original box, ends tomorrow. So if you'd like to pick one up and get it at a special sale price, I'd advise doing it before this sale ends. I'll leave a link to that product as well in the description box. I'm Dommy from Classic Games Revisited. Until next time.